Hello, everyone. This is Ryan Van Tile, the commissioner of the Los Angeles Sports Union, and you are watching episode number 1 of the Commissioner's Report. Welcome. Well, I didn't anticipate starting my own show, which may become a podcast at some point, till much further down the line, but we have a controversy in Los Angeles that is just too good to pass up. You may be watching this at whatever time, but it is 11 o'clock at night on a Sunday. I am supposed to be fast asleep in bed, but this is just too incredible. I got inspired, so I decided to come here to my studio, what I call the Union Studios, my music school, where I have worked for the last 18 years of my life, and talk about something going on in the city of Los Angeles. For those of you who have not been paying attention or unaware of this story, the Rams have a new quarterback this year. You probably know. His name is Matt Stafford. He is a phenomenal quarterback. We got him from Detroit. He wanted out after playing there for a billion years and putting up all kinds of stats and winning absolutely nothing in Detroit because no one wins anything in Detroit. It's not his fault. He's in Detroit. Matt Stafford came here. He's played okay to start his career here as a Los Angeles Ram, although the previous 3 weeks, not so good. Through consecutive 3 pick sixes, did not win a single game in November, and did not play well. But that's not what we're here for. We are here because Matt Stafford's wife, Kelly Stafford, yes, I don't know. I'd never heard of her before today, other than the fact that she was kind of a pain to deal with in Detroit, according to some sources, decided that she wanted to pick a fight with the LA media. Now, who did she want to pick a fight with? Of all people, Fred Rogan and Petros Papadakis. Fred Rogan, the dean of sports, been just working at NBC LA for God knows how long, since the 80s. Petros Papadakis, captain of what was formerly the worst team in USC football history until this season, RIP. And they host a show called The Challenge on Sunday night. Now, it's a blast of a show to watch. It's on directly after Sunday Night Football, whenever the game finishes, somewhere usually between 8:15, 8:30 p.m. on Sunday night. It's a great way to get caught up on the day in football in LA between the Chargers and Rams, what happened in high school football, and get some great humor. And also win some prizes from NBC, something like Vans. You can win a $5,000 prize pack to Barry's tickets and a few other things. I think a 50-inch TV. It's a great show. I highly recommend watching it. The controversy started last Sunday night when, on The Challenge, Petros and Fred were recapping last Sunday's game, which the Rams lost to the Packers. Here is that clip.
Okay. Feels kind of gothy, doesn't it?
A little gothy, yeah.
A little bit.
Good way to put it.
Right? Going out there throwing picks and all that. Fumbling the ball, looking confused, staring up into the sky.
You know what I found interesting about this? Before the game, the report came out, and I believe it was the first time it came out this year. You know, Matthew Stafford's been dealing with pain, injuries.
You don't
He's
say.
banged up. Well, first, everybody's always dealing with that, as you know from playing football.
Well, to me, it sounds like there's a reason we're not playing well.
And it came out before the game today, and I thought, what an odd time. All of a sudden, after all of these weeks.
Yeah, it's like losing the NBA
for
Finals
this to
and then
come out.
putting the wrist thing on.
Right.
You know, for your interview. Oh, my wrist has been screwed up the whole
Right.
time. Yeah, that kind of stuff, it doesn't go over well in football circles. I'm not saying the guy's not beat up, and maybe that's affecting the performance, but people saw the symptoms of what was wrong with the Rams over a month ago. This guy does this all the time. Sean McVay's a great coach. He's a special play caller. He's done a great job here in Los Angeles, but they can get away from the run very fast. He falls in love with the pass, and things can get really ugly. The Odell Beckham thing at this point just seems dumb. Did you see him go up and try to catch a ball with one hand that he could have got with two? And then McVay screaming into a laminated card like, we can't see you screaming? You didn't hide your face that well, Sean. We can tell that you're frustrated. You know, those kinds of things, you go get every guy to bring him in. every single sexy name, that kind of stuff, it's going to come back to bite you.
After the game, Stafford said his back forced him to miss practice a couple of times
Doctor
a week
said he
ago.
needs a bacchiotomy.
Maybe. Other than that, he's doing okay, except for the result on the field.
I've had some tough stretches in my career. There's no question. Play this game long enough, it'll humble you, and I put a lot of hard work into this, as do all the guys in that locker room, as do all of our coaches. Is it disappointing when you come out and play like that? Absolutely. There were some good things, but too many bad things for us to have a chance to beat a good team like Green Bay.
The Rams are going to kick BTS out of SoFi to host the Jaguars next Sunday.
Where's BTS going to go? The Troubadour?
Maybe.
Get in line.
We're a little smaller venue. We think there's still a few tickets available for the Jaguar game.
Okay, so that was last week, last Sunday night on the Challenge, last Sunday of November. You saw there Petros and Fred talking about the Rams, talking about Matt Stafford. He hasn't played great in the month of November. They hadn't won a game. So why would Kelly Stafford, the wife of Matt Stafford, be so upset at this show? The reason that the wife of an NFL quarterback, not a rookie, by the way. I don't care enough to look up the stats on Matt Stafford's career, but I know he's been a quarterback pretty much as long as I've been an adult. 10 years? 12 years? I don't know. Long ass time in Detroit. He's no spring chicken. I know it's their first time here in LA. Why is Kelly Stafford so upset? She's upset because they called him Matt instead of Matthew. That's why Kelly Stafford is mad. Because they called him Matt, which, I don't know. I've been following his career loosely, as closely as one person from LA follows a career of a quarterback in Detroit. I've never heard him called Matthew. I've heard literally everyone from Schefter to the ESPN dorks to every play-by-play person who's ever called one of his games that I've been forced to sit through on Thanksgiving call him Matt Stafford. But Kelly Stafford would like us all to know his name is Matthew. And she's so upset about this, in addition to a few other things, that she decided to unleash about it on her social media feed last week. Here is Kelly Stafford upset on her podcast, the name I've already forgotten. It's called The Morning After. I'm sure she thought it was hilarious when she created it. Here is wife of quarterback Matt Stafford, Kelly Stafford, on her podcast discussing why she is so upset. And I want you to key in. You're not going to be able to ignore it once I point it out for you, which I'm going to do before I play the clip. I want you to key in on the way Kelly says her husband's name, because it just reeks of,
we've got this going on, and Matthew was like, no, I'm good. Like, it's football. You play banged up. Everyone is banged up. And he's like, I hate the fact that people are going to think that he's like, I'm making zero excuses.
It's football. You play banged up. But goddamn you if you say the name, if you shorten that fucking quarterback's name, you motherfucker you.
He's fine.
He's fine. He's fine. Okay? He's fine.
Everybody has injuries going on. He didn't want that to be an excuse. He was like, that's not, I'm good. I'm good enough to play. So I don't want that to be the narrative that I'm not playing well because I'm injured.
I do not want this to be the narrative. But if my agent can leak this out to Diana Rossini and ESPN, it wouldn't be a bad idea.
Now we asked Matthew about these injuries. The guy that was on the sideline, he was like, he denied it, but
the guy that was on the sideline. If you're so concerned with names, why don't you get the name right of the guy that was on the sideline?
So it was just this whole thing. And so it pissed him off before the game. And I'm like, you know what? The best way to shut those people up is to go out and play. Now, of course, it was a tough game. So is what it is. And after the game, I'm sitting having a glass of wine with Tata. And these
I'm just having my glass of wine on a Sunday night, trying to unwind from all this stress. This $500 million just weighing on me. They're saying my husband's name shorter than I like to say it.
Two guys are talking about the game.
Two guys.
The Challenge. Have you ever heard about it? Of it?
It's called The Challenge. The Challenge. It's called The Challenge. Like 15 years on the air. Get it right, Georgia.
4. So it was just
Channel
on
4.
because we were watching the night game and it transitioned to that. And I'm gonna call them Frank and Peter because
Frank and Peter, you funny gal.
I know their names start with F and P, but they kept calling Matthew Matt, so I'm just gonna call him whatever I want.
And that's where it started. They kept calling Matthew Matt.
Because that seems to be what media does.
That's right. That's what the media does. They take a 2-syllable name like Matthew and they change it to 1 syllable like Matt.
So Frank and Peter were saying like, oh, it was interesting how how the story came out that he was injured right before this game, when he's been struggling, and it's exactly what Matthew didn't want. And now the media is playing into it. And
exactly what Matthew didn't want, but if my agent leaks it, what am I going to do? I can't control the guy. He's a wild card.
Like, he's like, oh, that's interesting timing that, he talked about some NBA player in the NBA finals shitting the bed and then his wrist.
LeBron James.
Saying in the media his wrist hurt after. Like, he had hurt his wrist. Like, that's what Matthew is doing. When Matthew didn't want any part of that.
So Matthew essentially was saying the opposite, telling the media, no, I'm not injured. I'm fine. If I play bad, it's because I'm playing bad.
Yes.
But now these two people are coming out and saying, oh, of course he's crying that I'm injured because he's not playing well. It never came from Matthew.
No, never came from Matthew. And this is where I struggle. Listen, you can say whatever you want these days.
Except you can say whatever you want. But goddamn you if you shorten my husband's name to 1 syllable.
And no one fact checks it. And that's
no one fact checks that his name has 2 syllables and not 1.
Like, I have a really hard time. This is going to sound ignorant, but you know what? Diving into like the politics stuff because I feel like it is so biased and the supposed facts are different on every side. So it's like really tough for me to figure out what the hell's actually going on. And that happens in like sports too. No one takes the time to make sure that that's the actual case anymore.
Anyone can say anything.
And everyone's just trying to get the clicks. Just the clicks. So whatever people think they'll click on is what they title the article. Like the shit that came out after the last podcast, it was that I wasn't going to away games anymore.
That was
the title. That's what they pulled from that.
Okay. So wife of veteran quarterback Matthew Stafford. Oh my God, I said his name with 2 syllables. First time I've ever done that. See, it's already working. She's already got me saying Matthew instead of Matt. Is upset that they discussed a report by multiple organizations, multiple journalists, not just people with Twitter accounts and lots of followers, multiple journalists, that he was injured or dealing with injuries, chronic back pain, ankle, elbow, blah, 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 whatever, his wrist, who knows. That's why she's upset. Thank God for the Dean of Sports, Fred Rogan, and Petros Papadakis, who this Sunday decided to address these concerns by Kelly Stafford on their show. I just want to say that this is all classed by the Dean of Sports.
Okay, off the top now. The Rams won. We'll get to that.
Okay.
All right. We personally would like to thank Matthew Stafford's wife, Kelly Stafford. Now, why would we thank her right off the top? Well, we've learned, it turns out she watches the challenge. So, Kelly, we welcome you. Last week, Kelly was not pleased with us.
This caught us by surprise.
A little bit, yeah. In the hours before last Sunday's Rams loss to the Packers, a report came out detailing Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford's list of ailments. And here's what we said about it a week ago. You know what I found interesting about this? Before the game, the report came out, and I believe it was the first time it came out this year. Matthew Stafford's been dealing with pain,
Oh,
God,
injuries,
Fred's got a great
banged up.
voice.
Well, first, everybody's always dealing with that, as you know from playing
Look at that
football.
smoke.
Well, to me, it sounds like there's a reason we're not playing well.
And it came out before the game today, and I thought, what an odd time, all of a sudden, after all of these weeks.
Yeah, it's like losing the NBA
this
Finals
to
and
come
then
out.
putting the wrist thing on.
Right.
You know, for your interview. Oh, my wrist has been screwed up the whole
Right.
time. Yeah, that kind of stuff, it doesn't go over well in football circles.
Okay, now we were commenting.
God, we looked young last week.
We were commenting on a report. We did not originate the report, nor did we attribute where the report, well, we said where it came from, but we didn't suggest that it was Matthew
Matt.
that talked about it. We didn't say that. We were commenting on a report. But apparently Kelly wasn't happy about that. So she posted the clip on Instagram and added this.
She has a podcast?
On her podcast, yes.
After the game, I'm sitting having a glass of wine with Tata, and these two guys are talking about the game. It's called The Challenge. Have you ever heard about it? Heard of it?
What channel is it on?
Channel 4. So it was just on because we were watching the night game, and it transitioned to that. And I'm gonna call them Frank and Peter because I know their names start with F and P, but they kept calling Matthew Matt, so I'm just gonna call him whatever I want because that seems to be what media does.
Matt.
Okay, so first of all, don't call Matthew Stafford Matt.
Right. That's like when Larry Fishburne changed his name to Lawrence after he did Othello.
Right.
You know, he was a more serious actor at that point.
Right.
So I understand that.
Yeah, so-
and I knew a lady that moved into a better neighborhood.
Yeah.
And her name was Debbie.
Right.
And then we started getting Christmas cards from Deborah. So I get it. I mean, I understand that.
Okay.
She's trying to make that happen.
Okay, so Frank and Peter,
That's us.
that's us.
Well, Frank and Beans here.
Yeah. But wait, there's more.
So Frank and Peter were saying like, oh, it was interesting how the narrative or how the story came out that he was injured right before this game, you know, when he's been struggling, and it's exactly what Matthew didn't want. And now the media's playing into it, and like he's like, oh, that's interesting timing. He talked about some NBA player in the NBA Finals in the bed, and then saying in the media his wrist hurt after, like he had hurt his wrist. Like that's what Matthew is doing when Matthew didn't want any part of that.
So Matthew essentially was saying the opposite, telling the media, no, I'm not injured. I'm fine. If I play bad, it's because I'm playing bad.
Yes.
But now these two people are coming out and saying, oh, of course he's crying that I'm injured because he's not playing well. It never came from Matthew.
No. So, you know what? It sucks. And I hate that about our day and age. Like, I hate that no one's accountable and everyone just needs clickbait and people buy into it.
Show.
Okay, well, first of all, I do want to say, and again, we appreciate Kelly Stafford watching the show.
I got to subscribe to that show.
Yeah, we appreciate
I want
it.
to have some wine with Tata. Talk about the game.
I'm not sure who Tata is. Anyway, we never said.
Close personal friend of the Staffords.
Yes.
Hashtag
we never
who's
said
Tata.
that Matthew Stafford himself said that. We never said that.
No,
We
his
never-
agent probably told somebody at ESPN so they could change the story about him playing poorly.
I don't know that.
Well, this is just what happens in the world of the NFL. The agent calls and says something to Adam Schefter or somebody, and they put it out there like the good shills that they are, and we all do the little media dance. I don't see what's so upsetting about this. The NBA player I was talking about is LeBron James, kind of like a known figure.
Yeah.
It was kind of a thing when it happened.
Yeah.
And I think Matthew Stafford, see, I said it right.
Yeah, don't
See, if they
call him
drill
that.
it into your head enough like Lawrence,
Matt.
you know, you'll start getting it, you know, by the time deep cover, you know, there's a decent, distant memory.
Yeah.
The point is, like, Stafford's a tough guy. My God, everybody's always known that. He's been a great player in the NFL. You don't make that much money playing quarterback in the NFL by not being a tough guy and being able to take hits. But I don't think we said that, did we?
No.
Yeah.
We didn't say that, and we
I'm
didn't
a guy
say-
wearing a tablecloth, so what, you know.
I like the shirt. And we never suggested that Matthew Stafford said he was injured. We were commenting on a report originated with ESPN.
Which probably came from Matt's agent.
No, Matthews. And the other side of it is this. In a post on Instagram, you know, she posted that. People commented back and forth.
She really got fired up.
She did. She said,
Didn't she throw a flaming hot pretzel at a fan this year as well?
I don't know if it was flaming hot.
Well, I mean, I'm assuming, you know, SoFi's got great service and fabulous
But it was in
concessions.
San Francisco.
Oh, well, you know what? The Denim Bowl is not a great place.
Right.
So maybe it was stale, which could also be dangerous in some ways.
Yeah, it could be. Okay. But anyway, thank you for watching.
Well, I don't know. Did we clear it up? I mean, I kind of feel like.
Well, I think we cleared it up. We never suggested that Matthew Stafford we suggested that Matthew Stafford said he was hurt and using it as an excuse.
Is this a clickbait show? Can anybody even click on this show? I don't believe this show is downloadable for clicks.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if you can click on it. I don't know. But maybe you could try. But I think we've cleared it up.
I think we've cleared it up. I don't want to have any problem with the Rams.
No.
I mean, other than the fact that they wear uniforms that look like jumpsuits from a prison in Korea.
Thank you for watching, Kelly. We appreciate
it. So there was the unbelievable response from Fred Rogan and Petros Papadakis to Kelly Stafford. Now, she did have a few other comments that were left out of the challenge that I would like to share with you that I thought were pretty funny.
It just bothers me now that anyone can say anything. And now with Twitter and everyone's a journalist. You know, like everyone, whatever someone says with a ton of followers, even if they have no background in sports, people take it as the truth.
They call them the blue check brigade.
Oh,
like
really?
anyone with a blue check can say anything.
Right.
And it's like, who are these people?
Oh my gosh.
But
okay. Now, I am someone with no background in sports other than being really crappy at high school sports. But I do have a few followers on Twitter and Instagram. Do I think I'm a journalist? No, I don't. But Kelly, I know you're new here, but Fred and Petros are journalists. They do have a background in sports. Fred's been here since the 80s. Petros is from here, literally his entire life. Played football at USC. Has been a sports personality, reporter, journalist since 2001, 2002, whenever he graduated from USC. He's been here a long time. He's not just someone with a few Twitter followers. So maybe if he says something, it's probably true. And maybe you shouldn't be quite so sensitive about it. You'll be fine.
But they kept calling Matthew Matt. 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 But they kept calling Matthew Matt.